My name is Amanda, and I'm doing my nonfiction prose on a book called Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis. The lie. I should be farther along by now. Last week I sat around with a group of women enjoying a glass of wine and a chat. The women around me were all ages, came from different cities, and have had various backgrounds. Some had families and some didn't, but all of them were what I would describe as successful. The topic of age came up and whether we like to celebrate our birthdays and the passing of another year. The general consensus was definitely not. This threw me for a loop. I'm one of those people who loves her birthday. I plan it months in advance and make long lists of things I want to do or what I want to eat. I look forward to it like with the same childlike glee as I did as a third grader. It's not just the actual celebration I like either. I wear each passing year with pride, and I truly don't care what age I am, one way or another. I know that women don't like getting older. That cliche has been around for as long as we've recorded history. I'm sure, but I had never really asked anyone why they felt this way. So I asked this group of ladies. I wanted to know what they dislike so much about growing older. The answer at its core was the same for every single person. I expected some reference to looking older or even feeling older physically. I always assumed it had to do with lost youth, and maybe for certain people that's true. But this group's issue with passing time wasn't about what was happening. They disliked growing older because of what wasn't happening. You see, they'd all made plans. As little girls or adolescents or women in their early 20s, they'd made all sorts of them. Little plans and big plans, and grandiose shoot for the moon plans that they assumed would have been accomplished long before now. And while they had checked many things off their list, there were still those nagging few. The hanging chads of wishes and dreams that still hadn't come to fruition. So for them, birthdays served as a reminder of all the things they hadn't achieved. For some, they fell short of a career or financial goals. Others wanted to be married and have children. They had set themselves on some sort of course long ago, and each year they didn't reach that preconceived destination was a harsh reminder of the promises they were breaking to themselves. Who hasn't fallen for this lie? I can't count the number of times in my life when I've beaten myself up because I thought my goals had expiration dates. But ladies, we need to recognize that this mentality doesn't do us any good. We're focusing all our attention on the absence of something. Imagine a little baby taking her first step. She's joyful and chubby, and she's been balancing in place without holding on to the coffee table for weeks now. Finally, she takes her first coltish stumble from the relative safety of the side table, then wobbles across the perils of the living room rug to grasp the edge of the sofa. She gets there and looks up at you with elation and pride and so much excitement. Now imagine you give her a quick, brittle smile and demand, "Yes, Chloe, that's fine, but why weren't you running by now?" Can you imagine the dismay that baby girl would feel? What kind of parent has that kind of reaction to a child who's just learning to do something new? Would it be unheard of for the mother to react so harshly? To judge a baby on what she hasn't yet had the time or life experience to figure out. And yet we do it to ourselves all the time. Our own negative self-talk can be more damaging than the emotional abuse heaped on us by a hateful parent. It's also far more insidious because there's nobody there to stop it. Since we rarely even realize it's happening, beating ourselves up about all the things we think we're doing wrong becomes a litany of white noise. Eventually, we don't even hear it anymore. And for what? Because you thought you'd be partner at your firm by 40? Because you can't believe how much weight you've gained since having kids? Because your sister is already married and you're not even dating anyone? Because you dropped out of college and didn't get your degree, and you're thinking with every passing hour and day and week that it's too late. I call bull crap.